One of the biggest challenges that I've seen people is that they want home theater, they are already living in a house wherein the interior is all done and the AV cabinets are done with only 10 inches depth. Now 10 inches is not at all possible to accommodate any home theater receiver which is a hi-fi home theater receiver. And if you are also facing these problems, in this particular video, I am going to share with you 4 tips on how to place your home theater receiver so that you can have the best of the experience as well as you can plan your space very properly. Now before I start, let me introduce myself. Hello everyone, my name is Tanmay Mehta, your home technology consultant or home theater wale bhaiya. And in this particular video, as I mentioned, we are going to give you some tips or some value-based addition to you so that you can plan your home theater systems properly. Now if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, I insist you to do that now so that you and I can stay connected and we can bring in more such content which is helping you design or buy your home theater equipment. Now the 4 tips that I actually share with you, I put them as 4 C's because these are nothing but 4 words which start with C and it will be easy for you to remember them as well. Now the very first C is the cooling part of it. Now why do you need cooling? Because your amplifier or the AV receiver is going to constantly heat up considering that it has got a transformer inside. Now any unit which is transformer based and is giving power to other speakers, now as and how you increase the volume, the consumption will begin more and more and the system is going to get heated up. The moment the system gets heated up, it needs some area through which it can take an inlet of cooling air and it can exhaust the hot air that it releases. So for all this to happen, you need a cooling system that is planned properly for the home theater placement. And how does that happen is, well, you have got an AV receiver which has typically got around 15 inches depth, 16 inches or 18 inches in width and a height of around 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches. Now, do you make cabinet which is exactly to this size? No, you don't. You need at least 3 inches extra space on the top and on both the sides because the vents of the AV receiver are on the sides as well as on the top of the receiver. So for that reason, ensure to have this 3 inches space so that you can let the cool air come in as well as the hot air dissipate outside. Also, this AV receiver, you can, if at all you are keeping it in a closed cabinet, you can also look at buying cooling fans so that you can have this cooling system done properly within the cabinet. The second tip or the second C that you have to consider while placing your AV receiver is your connections or connectors. Now the reason why this is important, typically when you have a 15 inches depth of AV receiver, the connectors that are going to be connected behind, like your HDMI cables, so the connectors of HDMI or the connectors of subwoofer cables are going to consume at least 2 to 3 inches of space. Now when they consume 2 to 3 inches of space, you need that gap behind so that you can do the connections properly and the AVR can still be within the cabinet and it won't protrude out. And for that reason, planning your connectors or identifying that, okay, what sort of connectors are going to be used and how much of space will that be consuming is very necessary while deciding on placing your home theater receiver. The third C of planning your home theater receiver placement is of cabling. Now we all know that in the AV rack you have got all the cables coming in from your speakers, TV, projector, subwoofer, etc. So when you have all these cables coming to one particular area, that is where you are planning to put your AV receiver, it is again going to consume some space and it might make the look a little shabby. So what you can do is you can actually plan the rear cabinet, the rear part of the cabinet in a manner that you have a proper cabling channel or a tray which is used to ensure that not all the cables are coming into the AV rack cabinet and only the ones that are required are directly coming in and connecting to the AV receiver. By doing this, you will be able to take care of the third element or the third part of home theater receiver placement, which is the cabling aspect. The fourth C to ensure that your home theater placement is happening properly is to ensure that you do the control part properly. Now what do I mean by control? Most of these AV receivers are either controlled using a remote control, which is IR based remote control, and for that reason you cannot close this cabinet with a hardwood shutter or a glass shutter, because operating the system will become a challenge and you will have to either find out certain areas which are keeping open so that the IR sensor can work properly, or else check if your AV receiver has got a IR trigger out so that you can use a IR external device, which is your IR emitters or IR receivers, and you can actually get the IR receiver signal outside from the cabinet so that it can still work and operate your system properly. In case you want to stick to the app version of it, because most of the apps which are Wi-Fi enabled AVRs has this provision wherein you can just download the app of the particular AV receiver from the Play Store or App Store, connect it to your internet, and you can use your mobile phone as the remote control. This can be one of the best ways, but may not necessarily be one of the recommended ways for everyone in the family to use. So a remote control will still be required, and do ensure to make a provision for your control. So let me just summarize all these 4 tips or 4 C's of home theater placement once again for you. The very first thing that we saw is your cooling system inside the AV receiver rack, because this is very important for ensuring a long health life for your AV receiver. The second C was your connectors. The third C was your cabling tray management system, and the fourth C was the control. I hope that this particular video helps you with the right information to plan your AV receiver rack properly, and you will be able to give it a very long life as well as very less maintenance cost. So if this video has helped you, do not forget to hit like button, and to stay connected, make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you and I can stay connected and we can bring in more such insightful and valuable information based videos which is going to help each one of you buy your home theater equipments properly. That's it from my end. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you.